Hey everyone, it's Blake with FicheBait. In this video, I'm going to walk through some of the new features released in the Workflow 12 Fall 2024 release. This includes the ability to work with users in Laserfiche Directory Server and more. Alright, as with a lot of the other Laserfiche 12 updates that have come out, Workflow has a lot of really neat features that are now available to us. You will notice that the interface of the Workflow Designer looks a little different. This designer view was not initially released in the fall 2024 release. This is part of the spring 2025 release. I'm just doing this recording a little later. So some of the new things that we are able to do in Workflow with this release is the ability to create, manage, and delete Laserfiche and SAML users, as well as groups managed in Laserfiche Directory Server. So this includes licenses, user properties, membership with different Laserfiche groups. So what I've done is I've created a Laserfiche workflow. So if we come into Directory Server here, you can see I have this filtered by user type, and I am only showing my Laserfiche user types. If I go back to the Laserfiche Workflow Designer, I've got a couple of workflows here that I've created to show you how this works. So the first one is to create a Laserfiche user. So in the toolbox on the left-hand side, if you scroll all the way down, you will see new activities. And these activities are what I'm going to show you on these different workflows. So the first one that we're able to do is we are now able to create a Laserfiche directory user using Workflow. So why would you ever want to do this? If you think of the powerful features that you have in Laserfiche Forms, you could have a form submission request, and that goes through different approvals, and then once it's finally approved, you would want that user to be created within Directory Server automatically. You could also then assign that user a license. So there's an activity now for that as well. So with the create user activity, you would first select the server. So in this case, I have LFDS. And you click on user information, and I've gone through and pre-populated this. So I've just kind of put my information in here. But you select on each line of the user information and then insert the value. You can see you can use the token dialog to populate it with other things. So if you have other activities in your workflow, maybe doing database lookups, things like that, you're able to use those values. And then after the user is created, you can then assign the user a license. So again, you select the server, select from your license type, and then the assign license to. So in this case, I'm creating the user, but if we had something like a find user activity, then we could actually select that as well. So it could go and find a user from Directory Server, and then you could assign the license to that user. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this workflow. I'm just going to run it manually, and we'll click Run. And you can see that it ran successfully. Let's go back to Directory Server. We'll run our search again. And there's the user. So you can see that the user was created. If we look at the profile, here's the information that I put in Workflow. And it assigned the full license that I had selected in Workflow as well. So pretty cool. So that's the first part, is being able to create the user and assign a license. The next workflow that I have is to create a group within Directory Server. So again, let's go back to Directory Server. We can look at groups. These are the 4 groups that I currently have created in my Laserfiche Directory Server. And if we go back to Workflow and we use the Create Laserfiche Directory Group activity, again, we choose the server, and then you give it a group name, and you can even choose the organization that you want that group created in. So let's go ahead and run this. And it ran successfully as well. If we come back here and refresh, there's our new information technology group. So pretty simple. Again, you could use this as part of like an approval workflow where people are requesting new groups to be created, or you're doing database lookups. You could be querying something like Active Directory and you're wanting to create groups based on Active Directory groups. You could have groups created that way as well. So lots of different uses for this activity. The next one is being able to assign a user to a group. So in this case, we have created a user. So I'm going to tell the workflow to go ahead and find that user specifically. But again, you could use this with other activities if you wanted to. And then we are going to assign the user or the trustee to a specific group in Directory Server. So I've selected my server here, add trustee to group. You can also remove a trustee from a group if you want to. So let's go ahead and run this. We can see it completed successfully. If we refresh this, you can now see that my user that I created is now assigned to this group. And then obviously if you come back here, we look at my user, we can see information technology group assigned. So pretty easy to use. And then the last activity that comes along with this is being able to delete a user. So I'm going to go ahead and find that same user, and then I'm going to delete that user from Directory Server. So we'll go ahead and run it. Refresh, says it was successful. And just to filter out some things here, you can now see that that user doesn't exist. So some really cool activities that are now available with Workflow version 12. Again, you can tie these into different approval workflows if you want to create users, create groups, assign licenses, assign groups to users, as well as delete users. Keep in mind that this does only work with Laserfiche users and SAML users. So if you are using Windows Active Directory users, you are not able to create users with these activities that way. In that case, you would want to use something like the AD sync ability that is available in Directory Server. So you would come into your identity providers, go to rules, and then based on AD groups, you would assign licenses out that way. So some of the other things that they've updated to be able to support this type of activity with being able to create and delete users, assign access, all that kind of stuff with the Directory Server. They've gone through and updated all of these activities as well. So you are able to find groups and managers and users and update participants and assign access rights to Directory Server accounts. So this list of activities here have all been updated so that you are able to use them. You are also able to use the workflow initiator variable and business process rule with the Directory Server users and groups now as well. So one of the other updates that's available in this release is being able to change the language for the Workflow Designer directly from the Workflow Designer itself. So if we come in to the Workflow Designer, go to View, we can click on Change Language, and we now get a drop down for the different languages that are available to us to select from. Some of the other updates that have been made available is additional forms variables and retrieve business process variables. So the forms variables from saved or repository activities, including folder path, attachment entry IDs, document name, folder name, are now available as tokens to be able to use. Deleting a workflow now also deletes completed and terminated instances and starting rules. And then there's also a whole bunch of different fixes. They've updated various libraries as part of this release. And they've also gotten rid of some old drivers and things. So they've removed the ability to install x86 for workflow installations. And they've also removed outdated ODBC and OLE drivers as part of this. They removed the outdated workflow migration utility and some deprecated features as well. And you can read all about those in the changelog if you'd like to. But those are the main changes of the fall 2024 release of Workflow 12. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you have, make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, keep fishing.